Chapter 2 is the chemical level of organization. You might recall from Chapter 1 that we went through the levels of organization, and the most simple level being the chemical level, which consists of atoms and molecules. Matter consists of solids, liquids, and gases because they have a mass and they take up some space. Even the air in the room around you is matter because there's atoms floating around in there. Solids and liquids are made up of atoms, but atoms exist in different forms, which we call elements. So elements are the fundamental substances that make up all matter. For example, if you have hydrogen, which you can see here represented by the letter H on this periodic table, hydrogen is made up of hydrogen atoms. Oxygen, which is O on the periodic table, well, oxygen, the element, is made up of oxygen atoms. So the characteristics of the atom define the element. So here's all the elements that we know exist in nature, organized for us, and we'll be working with some of them as we go through this chapter. Now, atoms can come together to form compounds or molecules. Our next job here is to realize the difference between the two when there is a difference. So what a compound is a substance that's composed of two or more different elements. Elements here is the key word. So some examples are glucose, and we can see three different elements are represented: carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Even though there's 6 carbons, 12 hydrogens, and 6 oxygens, we're more concerned with the different elements when we're talking about compounds. And since there's 2 or more different elements, there happens to be 3 here, it's a compound. Methane, CH4, is a compound because we can see 2 different elements, carbon and hydrogen. Same with carbon dioxide, 2 elements, carbon and oxygen. So that's how we define a compound. You need at least 2 different elements represented. A molecule is a little different because we're concerned with atoms. So if we look at this here, H2, there's only one element, hydrogen, but there's 2 of them. That means there's 2 atoms making up this molecule. And since there's 2 or more atoms, that's a molecule. O2 is 2 oxygen atoms, so since there's 2 or more atoms, it's a molecule. So with compounds, we're concerned with 2 or more elements. In molecules, we're concerned with 2 or more atoms. Now, a little trick here, or a little key to remember, is let's look at glucose here. We know it's a compound because there's more than one element, but is there more than one atom? Well, yes, there's lots. There's 6 plus 12. So since there's more than one atom here, it's also a molecule. So all compounds are molecules because all compounds have at least 2 atoms in them. There's some molecules that are not compounds when there's only one element involved. Of all the elements that we saw on the periodic table on the previous slide, there's only a few of them that are most abundant in our body. And they're starred right here at the top of this table. And these are the 4 that we should know make up most of us. So which elements are most abundant in our bodies? Oxygen, carbon, hydrogen, and nitrogen. Which of the 4 is most abundant? And we can see it's not even close. Oxygen makes up almost 2/3 of us. Then carbon, then hydrogen, then nitrogen, then many other elements, but in very trace amounts. So if you're asked what is the most abundant element in the body, well, by far, it's oxygen. What are the 4 most abundant? O, C, H, and N. Now you might be thinking, well, isn't water the most abundant? Well, it is the most abundant, but not the most abundant element, because water is H2O, that means there's H's and O's, which makes it a compound. So if you're ever asked what's the most abundant compound in the body, that's water. So a lot of this oxygen here is in water form in our body attached to hydrogens.